Welcome into Win the Line. My name is Tanner Kern, joined alongside Max Forde. We're breaking down all the offensive and defensive line news that you need to know and how it impacts your betting and fantasy. Max, football is finally here. We couldn't be more excited about it. And we got some big news today. Nick Bosa becoming the highest paid defensive player of all time, 5 years, $170 million deal with the 49ers. What's your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, that's a huge deal, well deserved. And it's a big deal for the San Francisco 49ers defensive line there. Without them, they still have a solid unit, one that I think is probably top third of the league. But with him there, he's like they're an elite unit. They got a guy that's a game record there in Nick Bosa. They got some guys on the interior. They got Hargraves this year, and so that's just bringing him back. They're top three, maybe top one, depending on who you ask. So um, you go from good to great having that guy back in town.
Yeah, Bosa and the 49ers will be playing the Steelers this weekend. How do you see this matchup playing out between Bosa and the San Francisco defensive front against Pittsburgh offensive line?
Well, like I just said, that's a top three unit. I think regardless of who you ask, with him in town. So you're going up against a team like the Steelers, who they did have a little bit of a struggle last year on offensive line. They've made some upgrades this offseason. I think they will be better on the offensive front. But that 49ers defensive front there is just they're scary if you got to go up against them. So I do think that they're going to have some trouble with that 49ers front.
Definitely. We don't have props out, but one that I would be looking at is Kenny Pickett over his passing attempts. A lot of quick game, I think, to get the ball out of his hand so he doesn't have to deal with Nick Bosa. Another injury that we're talking about here, Ryan Jensen's season-ending knee surgery for the Buccaneers. This really hurts Tampa Bay because, honestly, the offensive line this year was going to be somewhat of a strong suit. Without Jensen, though, I don't have a lot of high hopes for the Bucs. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, man, they have him. They have Tristan Wirfs, are both a couple of really strong offensive linemen there. Um, right now, without him in the center there, they have a new quarterback in Baker Mayfield, which is you kind of try to build that chemistry, and now you lose a center. They've got a lot of question marks without him, and I think it makes it real tough this year.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a long season for Tampa Bay. Not saying they're out of the division in Tampa Bay and the NFC South just because the teams are so weak there, but Ryan Jensen going down definitely hurts them. But the biggest news, I think, that affects our betting and fantasy play for this week, Chris Jones still does not have a contract, or he's has not been extended with the Chiefs. They don't want him around. He doesn't want to be there right now. He wants to get paid, and they're not willing to do it. So this is an interesting situation here. The Chiefs didn't have a great defense last year, and without Chris Jones on the field, it's really going to hurt them, I think, on Thursday night.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. Probably, yeah, again, another top three interior player in the league there, and they really depend on him. He kind of has a gravitational pull on the offensive lineman there. They bring double teams, triple teams, whatever on him, and so when you don't have that, it's going to be a lot more of pressure on those other guys. Probably look for George Karlaftis to kind of pick up the slack, but I'm not sure if the second year player is ready for that. The more attention he's going to get without Chris Jones there. So
Yeah, and the problem with the Chiefs not having Chris Jones, he's such a good pass rusher from the inside. He doesn't allow quarterbacks to step up. So if Goff has time, is able to step up in the pocket, I can see him picking apart this Chiefs defense, and Chris Jones not being there is really going to hurt them. One prop that I'm looking at, Monter St. Brown, over or under 76.5 receiving yards. I'm going to take the over on this line. I think he has a big game just because Goff's going to have a lot of time against this Chiefs pass defense.
I've
What
got
do you
to agree with Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. The Lions have a top offensive front, and without Chris Jones, that Chiefs defensive front isn't very intimidating, and I think they should be giving them tons of time. I think this is a shootout where the Chiefs are scoring points too, and to keep up with that, you're going to be throwing the ball, and Amon-Ra is their number one guy. So I think Jared Goff has time to find him, and yeah, I'd take the over there as well.
Oh, 100% there. Chris Jones not being in the game is really, I think it's going to make a big difference for the Chiefs, and I do expect the Lions to be in the game because of it. Now we're going to move into our matchups of the week. These are the biggest mismatches that we've found in some notable games here. The biggest one, I think, that a lot of DFS players are going to look at, the Commanders defensive front versus the Cardinals offensive line here. Commanders defense priced at $2,800. Commanders were 11th in rushing defense last year. They were actually really good up front, and the Cardinals still don't have a starting quarterback, Max. So is this a price that you would be looking at?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, they don't have a starting quarterback. It sounds like it might be a week to week thing there. I have a feeling we're going to be picking on the Cardinals offensive line a little bit this year, and it starts with week one. They see that Commanders front that has four former first round picks and couple guys on the interior that they've paid, top paid interior type guys, and uh, yeah, it's just going to be a bloodbath. I think if Cardinals have any kind of chance, it might be on the edges, but the Commanders have great edge defenders too, so I don't really think uh, that they're going to be able to make anything happen out there. It's just, yeah, 2,800 is a good price.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we're going to see a lot of power and trap. They're going to have to run stuff like wide zone. I just don't see it happen against guys like Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Now, Max, you
Yeah.
played in the CFL. You obviously had times where you're going against a weaker opponent. What was your thought process going into that football game? If you're Chase Young here and you know that you're looking across from a Cardinals offensive line that doesn't really have a starting quarterback to play with, their offensive line's a little shaky there. What would be your thought process and how do you plan on attacking that?
Well, you want to win that psychological battle early. Like you want to get after them, let them know it's going to be a long day, and you want to see if you can break their will, kind of make them quit. If you can make the other team quit, it's going to be smooth sailing after that. And so, um, when they don't want to be there anymore, I mean, your job becomes a whole lot easier. So just getting off to a fast start and kind of letting them know what time it is, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, so one prop that's potentially going to be around 60 rushing yards, I believe, James Conner. Would you play the over or under if it was set at 60 yards? I would play the under here just because I don't see the Cardinals moving the ball that much. I think they're going to have to throw and do a lot of quick game here.
I'm going to sound like a parrot here, but same exact sentiment here. They're going to have to throw. They're probably going to be behind. I just don't see them getting much movement on the ground when they do try to run. So just going to be a long day for their entire offense, but especially on the run, I don't think they're going to be able to commit to it really.
No, I don't either. And that's why I would take the under there on pretty much every single Cardinals offensive prop you can find. I'm leaning under. I don't see them moving the football that much this week. Steelers defensive front versus San Francisco 49ers offensive line here. San Francisco obviously has some playmakers on offense, right? They have a ton, Christian McCaffrey, and they have a
Yeah.
decent offensive line. I think Trent Williams is the main guy there, but outside of that, they can be slightly shaky at times. This should be an interesting matchup. When you look at the Steelers, they're priced at $3,000. We're getting up to that point where we're paying up for a defense here. Steelers were ninth in rushing yards allowed per game last season, ninth best, and the Niners were eighth in rushing yards per game. So we got a great battle here. Who do you see winning this one?
I like the Steelers front over the 49ers front here. I think that they've got some more daddies over there. They've got Cam Hayward's been doing it for feels like forever. They've obviously got TJ Watt, who is one of the best defensive players in the game right now. They've got four guys that had double-digit sacks very recently. All of them done it the last 2 years, and three of those guys have done it multiple times in their career. So they've got guys that can get after the passer. And like you said, they're tough against the run there. So that's a tough group to go against for any offensive line. I think with the 49ers losing McGlinchey there, that hurts too. And at times, I do think that they're helped by their play calling, which is going to keep happening. Obviously, they still have Kyle Shanahan, and that the skilled position players can find those creases. But I do think, from a talent standpoint, they're outmatched by the Steelers this weekend.
Oh, 100%. The Steelers' defensive front is much better than the Niners up front. My only fear is, though, Christian McCaffrey is a playmaker. He can find those holes here. How do you see Kyle Shanahan coming into this game and trying to attack the Steelers' defensive line? Because he's obviously one of the best in the game at calling plays.
Yeah, anytime you've got a guy like Trent Williams, who might be the best player in the league, regardless of position, you probably want to get behind that guy and let him do his thing. Uh, Trouble is, like, you've got TJ Watt on the other side. You've got guys on the other side that might be able to. They're not going to dominate Trent Williams. Don't get me wrong, but they might be able to get a stalemate, which with the rest of their front playing the way they play, that could be a win. Just getting that stalemate, letting somebody else make that play. So I think he's going to want to try to get behind Trent Williams, though, because yeah, that dude's he can get movement on anybody in the league. He's one of the best players there is. So.
Oh, definitely. The drop-off's big from Trent Williams. Look at the offensive line. Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, and Colton McKivitz. It's definitely a drop-off from Williams. I think Kyle Juszczyk's going to get involved a lot. I think we're going to see him being a lead blocker and possibly working in trap and power and all that, just because they need the extra guy in there to really compete with this Pittsburgh Steelers front. One prop in this game, it's going to be around 120.5 based on what we saw last season. Christian McCaffrey rushing plus receiving yards. Where were you leaning for this one?
Man, because of that short game, trying to get rid of the ball quick, I do think that Purdy tries to find him in the passing game, he's going to be one of their preferred targets there, and I think he can get the over, getting him in space, getting him past that first level by hitting him in the passing game. The rushing game, I think, might be a little bit tougher for him this weekend, but he's the kind of player that also only needs 1 or 2 plays to get pretty close to that total. So if he can break one, that obviously will help hit that total. But even without that, I think the passing game can get him there. Yeah.
Yeah, wide zone to the right side, let him sneak through a crease. He's gone. You got 30, 40 yards right there, and then he can build on with the receiving yards. So I do like that play over. It's never a bad bet going over on Christian McCaffrey. And then we got some big news with the Raiders here. Chandler Jones went off on his Instagram story and said he doesn't want to play for the Raiders anymore. He doesn't want to be not being able to get into the team's facility. He is not with the team right now. Maxx Crosby has said everything's in-house. We're good. The Raiders aren't distracted by it, to the outside world at least. This can affect them, though. When you look at who they're going against, Denver, up-and-coming Denver team, right, with Sean Payton being the head coach. I'm not saying they're going to be an offensive juggernaut, but you have Maxx Crosby still. However, not having Chandler Jones on the other side of the ball does hurt them.
Oh, yeah. You got a rookie there, 7th overall pick, Tyree Wilson, that you hope can step in and take some of those snaps. But if you have Chandler Jones there, they can keep each other fresh. You can get some nice sub packages in on those 3rd and longs. Not having Chandler Jones definitely takes away from some of the possibilities, but they're definitely hoping the rookie can backfill that. And if you can't, like you said, you got a team that might be up and coming in Denver, so could be a longer day if Wilson's not up to the task.
So prior to the Chandler Jones news, the Raiders were priced at $2,300. This was a game that we were eyeing as a value play here. Is this a stay away for you if you're talking DFS?
Man, week 1, there's so many question marks. The savings are still attractive. And like, if you believe in Tyree Wilson as a player, I think it's still one that you can try to go after. The Broncos offensive line, I think Ben Powers is a pretty big addition on the interior. They obviously got Mike McGlinchey as well. I still think that they're missing like that linchpin offensive lineman that kind of changes the game for them. So I think that it's still one that you can try to attack if you're saving money, but you got to go in with realistic expectations too.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a value play, but I'd rather pay up a little bit and go towards that Commanders defensive front and defensive as a whole against the Cardinals. But anyways, Max, this was fun. The first show of Win the Line. You can check us out every Thursday. I'm making videos as well, prop picks on the 33rd team. Max, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Max Forde, or X, I guess we're calling it these days. Come find me over there, and I'll be tweeting a little bit more about NFL content, offensive and defensive line, obviously, and you can find me there.
Yeah, definitely. Max with the double X. Find him on Twitter, guys. We appreciate you joining us for Win the Line here. We'll be back next Thursday for another episode.